There are protests in Paris today over the government's plan to reform the country's pension plan. It wants to raise the retirement age by 2 years. This here is a look at the streets of Paris, where waste collectors have been on strike over the government's proposal. Garbage is piling up on the sidewalks all over the city. Officials say it's becoming a public health risk. Other cities in France are also affected by the strike. Ross Cullen has more from Paris.
Well, the latest protest and demonstration underway. There are marches taking place across the country on Wednesday, the latest day of mass mobilisation against the government's planned reform of France's pension system. One of the most visual impacts that we have seen is also these piles of garbage across Paris and some of the other French cities, because refuse workers, people who are working in rubbish removal, have been walking out. They have been holding industrial action because they also are in opposition to the government's planned reform of the pension system. The signature act, the signature part of that legislation, will be raising the retirement age in France for the general population from 62 to 64. And there are other whole host of reforms, including streamlining and simplifying some of France's different pensions regimes, which apply to various professions, trying to amalgamate some of those. Also releasing what's known as a seniors index to try to force companies with at least 300 employees to release the data of how many older employees they have in their workforce. But the government is determined to continue with its reforms, and Wednesday is the last possible day we have seen for this commission made up of 7 senators and 7 MPs to try to come together to agree on a text. If they do so, Thursday will see the final vote. Decisive votes in both the Senate and the lower house, with senators and MPs, if they do vote in favour, approving this proposed legislation to come into law. Ross Cullen for CBC News, Paris.